So this episode is all about the gear we took. We didn't have a guide or a porter or anything. We carried all of our own stuff, so we needed to keep it quite light. We did the trek in early October, so it wasn't that cold, and it was after monsoon season, so we didn't need that much gear. My pack was 12 kilos, including 2 kilos worth of drone gear, so 10 kilos is totally achievable. So let's get started. Shell gloves. These are really thin and not very insulated. They basically keep the wind out. Inner gloves. These are fairly thin, kind of like a woolen material. They're not all that warm, but with the shell gloves you can basically get through anything. A down jacket. These are amazing. These are the best thing ever. They pack down really small, they weigh almost nothing at all, and they can keep you warm, like -10, whatever, you can be in this and it'll be fine. A shell jacket. I got this specifically for this trip. It's a MacPack shell. It's very thin, very light, no insulation in there, which is the whole point, as you can see. It's just taped seams, keeps the water out, keeps the wind out. Vital for a trek like this. Hiking pants, non-insulated, thin. These dry really quickly, they keep the wind out, they're pretty waterproof. Don't get insulated pants because you will pretty much die from the heat. I wore this every day for the whole trek, 14 days in these pants. They look like new. A merino thermal t-shirt. This is just a long sleeve t-shirt. It's fairly thin material as well. You don't need it to be too thick. You can see me through there. The whole point of merino is it doesn't stink. I wore this for pretty much every day, and really at the end of the trek you could hardly smell anything. So merino is amazing. It's not that expensive. Merino underwear. Again, MacPack brand is what I got. They don't stink as well. So I had 2 pairs. You probably want to switch a few while you're on your trek. A second thermal top. This is a polyester one I've had lying around. It's quite thin as well. I was just using it as a second layer on top of the merino, and surprisingly it didn't stink too much either, but a bit more than the merino, so if you're worried about smells, get merino. Socks. I brought 4 pairs, 2 merino, 2 just normal hiking socks. These didn't really stink at all. They did get kind of weird and plasticky and hard, but it worked fine. A travel towel. They're very thin, they're very light, they pack down. They're not huge, but they are perfectly fine for showering. They dry really quickly. A beanie or a hat, however you want to call it. A head torch. Not too expensive, but you're going to need them because there's not exactly a whole lot of power out there at night in your room, going to the toilet. People also wear them for going up Kalapatar and Gokyori. Definitely get a pair. A sleeping bag silk liner. Very small, very light. Basically it just keeps you warmer at night in your sleeping bag, and also you don't mess up your sleeping bag so much because you're going to be in there for 2 weeks. A sleeping bag. I got a down sleeping bag. You want to keep this really light, and down sleeping bags also pack down really small, as you can see. If it's not warm enough for you, there's going to be blankets there anyway. I often put a blanket on top of this. This one's rated to -10, but sometimes it was still a bit chilly in the room, so you don't need to get the craziest sleeping bag ever. A good sleeping bag will really help. A stuff sack. I put all my clothes and bits and pieces in here, so it was easier to take out of the big backpack every night. A pair of polarized sunnies. You definitely want polarized. There's a lot of glare. These were $30. Don't go crazy. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars. I'll tell you why. Because I slipped over and these were in my hand and I cracked them right through the middle there. So don't spend too much. A day pack. A small backpack that you can just use at the end of the day when you're going for a acclimatization hike or up one of the peaks. It really just needs to fit 2 water bottles, some food, maybe an extra layer or 2 of clothing. Light is good because you need to pack this into your bigger bag as well. A bunch of chargers. I've got some chargers here that I took. Phone charger, camera charger, and one for the hard drive. A power board. There's not a lot of power points around. You will find it really useful to be able to plug in a couple of devices to charge. An adapter. Nepal has the European style plugs. This takes anything on the back. You will find some places will have adapters like this, but it's just better to bring your own because then you don't have to worry. A hiking pack. I borrowed this from someone for the trek. It's a 65 litre. It was a little bit big. I actually had about 12 kilos in there. Nice comfortable straps and all. If you get a modern one, they're a lot lighter than older ones. I had an older one and it weighed 1 kilo more than this. If you can, get a lighter one. A phone. I had a GPS app on here that I was using. If you're going in a group or whatever, make sure everyone has a phone with the same app on there. There's Wi-Fi everywhere, so you'll be able to communicate. And a hard drive. I got this for this trip. It's a Western Digital Wireless Pro. So the idea is you turn this on, you can charge your phone with it. Probably charges a phone 2 times, and it creates a Wi-Fi network, so when you connect to it with the app on your phone, it will download all your photos, all your videos, so you can clear out your phone. It also has a SD card slot, and this way you can empty off all the photos off your camera. You can still keep them on the SD card and have 2 copies, but this has everything on there from the trek. And you're going to need a map. We just bought this in Lukla. You really don't need to prepare. There's plenty of places selling maps. The shoes worn on this trek, by me at least, my old pair of Nikes. I brought them as a backup pair of shoes, but they were so comfortable in the first few days. I didn't see any point in not wearing them. So I've worn them for about half the trek. I actually wore those up Gokyori today. And this is my other pair, more traditional hiking boots. They're kind of heavy, but I've had these for literally 10 years. It might be their last trip because they've really taken a bruising on this one. My wife's been using her new North Face boots, which she really loves. So I'll probably get a pair of those next time. And her runners as well. I mean, Gokyori, you can see it from the window. So Gokyori was up this. Doesn't look like much here, but it's actually very tiring. It takes most people 2 hours to get up. It's pretty rocky. You know, if you have shoes that can handle something like that, you'll be fine.